Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am here recording this video before work, and it's kind of nice because it's quiet. The city is quiet and I like it, but I don't have too much time and I really want to get this review up. I am recapping My Big Fat Fabulous Life. I believe this is season 9, definitely episode 2, entitled From Tutor to Suitor. And before I get into the recap of the episode, which not too much happened, this episode was really just a catalyst to get the storylines sort of kicked off, and there's a handful of them. I hope I don't regret reviewing this show, because I can't tell you how many times watching this I was rolling my eyes with Whitney, and I don't want to come off like I am picking on her, or picking on the big girl, because her weight has and her looks have really nothing to do with it. Sometimes, more specifically when it comes to her friends and her relationships, she can be very, like I mentioned in my previous review, very entitled and a little selfish, and this is the thing about the show. Whitney is the star of it, okay? She's supposed to be relatable, as a woman, or anybody really. If you're struggling with your health or your weight, we can relate to her on that level. If you have parents who are getting older and you're kind of having to step in to care for them, that's relatable. Her being single and looking for love, being cheated on, that's definitely relatable. But maybe you're somebody who's totally fit and healthy, and your parents are young and they're not in that stage in their life, and maybe you're in a very satisfying, healthy relationship. So if she's not necessarily relatable, what she is definitely supposed to be is likable. And oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes, Whitney isn't a very likable person, in my opinion. And that's not to say that like I said, dislike her as a whole, or I think she's a terrible person, because there are certain things about her that I do respect and can appreciate. But Whitney, I don't know if this sort of trait of her kind of being a little what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of like self-absorbed, self-centered. I don't know if that's just her being extra for the show, if she's always been that way, because I only saw the first season and the last couple, and I don't really remember her being that way in the first season. If this is something that's happened gradually over time, has the show kind of gone to her head to make her feel that she is the most important person in her universe, that, everybody sort of needs to revolve around her. I don't know. And we're gonna watch the show, and, maybe I'm being a little too harsh. It's only episode 2. But let's start with the things I do like about Whitney, okay? Number 1, her business savvy. She's got No BS Active, which has really taken off. It did from the start when she was doing it with Ryan, and now she's doing it with Jessica. It's bringing in a lot of revenue and money, and that's great. Last season, before the whole shutdown, she started this offset of No BS Active called No BS Dance with Todd, her dance partner at the studio, the guy she creates dances with, her really good friend. And when the lockdown shutdown happened, everything was put on halt. Now things are picking back up. She's only sort of started No BS Active again. What's going on with No BS Dance? Ashley, her friend, who is now sort of her admin, assistant on the business, comes over to sort of go through emails and shares with Whitney that she's getting a lot of inquiries and questions about what's going on with No BS Dance. Are they bringing it back? What's going on? And Whitney very diplomatically shares that, No BS Dance just isn't really financially feasible. This is subscribership. Well, there ain't none really, and it's not just putting a camera and doing a dance. There's a lot of work that goes on behind it. That's why she hired Ashley. And so she's really more leaning towards dropping it. But Ashley suggests maybe restructuring it. Instead of monthly subscriberships, perhaps they can do like a pay by dance subscribe payment plan. These things that can possibly be done, and it's worth talking about. So later on when Whitney meets with Todd to kind of hang out and do a little dance, he brings up the topic again of No BS Dance, what's going on. When we bring it back, she tells him it's not really making any money and people aren't really seemingly interested, or not enough people are. And his frame of thought is, hey, if one person's asking for it, if only 2 people are asking for it, let's give the 2 people what they want. But Whitney, shares that it's easy for Todd to say, he likes just the fun part. He just wants to show up and do the cha-cha, he's not, sort of doing the day-to-day business money handling of it. So maybe he doesn't have a broader understanding of time and money, and he tells her, you know, hey, we used to do this like on YouTube back 10 years ago for nobody, just your dad. Well, that was 10 years ago. You know, Whitney's about her business and her brand and her money, and that I can respect and tip my hat to. She's a shrewd businesswoman, and I can appreciate that about her. So she tells him she's open to discussing restarting it. They would definitely have to recalibrate it. He's got to get more involved on the business side of it. I spoke too soon about the sirens. Spoke too soon. Let's try to ignore it, because I got to get to work, so I got to keep this rolling. So that was sort of that storyline. Another storyline that sort of was rolled out was Whitney's brother Hunter, who lives in New York normally, came home during the panorama and stayed with their parents to just, you know, obviously because it was safer there for him in terms of being in New York in the hot spot. He could be there to help out with his parents and whatever they needed, you know, because they're elderly. But now, you know, that everything's, you know, shots are going around and, you know, things are sort of seemingly trying to get a little normal again. He feels like it's time for him to go back to New York, his home, his job, his life. And Whitney's kind of bummed about it because she's going to miss her brother. And she's obviously concerned about his health and what's going on in New York, but more so because she's gotten really used and comfortable with him being with the parents, you know. She doesn't have to worry about them. Now, they are elderly, but they're still very active out and about. I don't think they necessarily need an in-home person, but you know, it is helpful to know that if there's an emergency, somebody is there. And when Hunter leaves, it's all gonna fall back on Whitney. And that is a lot, you know, it's just, I can relate. I mean, my mom is not at all Whitney's parents' ages, but as you get older as a child and, you know, these, you know, your parents, what's happening with them, where they're gonna go, who's gonna care for them as they get old, these are conversations. So, you know, I like how close she is to her family and how thoughtful and caring she is when it comes to her parents. So cool, all right? Another storyline we get is, again, Ashley is going through emails with Whitney, and a woman by the name of Annette, who runs this business called Fat Girl Travels, reaches out inviting Whitney on a like big girl retreat. What Annette does is she, you know, plans and puts together trips for larger women, you know, all over the world. And she finds places, makes itineraries, excursions, you know, just so they can, you know, kind of just to show that, you know, just because you might be bigger doesn't mean you can't go out, live your best life, and have really cool, you know, like I said, travels and experiences. So she invites Whitney to a big girl retreat and asks in the email if maybe Whitney would consider teaching a dance class on one of the afternoons. Ashley really wants Whitney to do this, and Ashley also really just wants to, you know, go on a vacation. So Whitney and Ashley reach out to Annette on FaceTime just to get more information and details. Annette says that the retreat is going to be in a beach town in Atlanta, I believe not far from Savannah. They're gonna do like a bike ride. They have a photographer coming so they can take great pictures, and the women can, you know, post them on their social medias. And yes, they would really like for Whitney to teach a class if she's open, you know, not like as a teacher, definitely more of just like a participant, but you know, they just really love Whitney's brand, her attitude, her, you know, fearlessness about her size. And so this all sounds great to Whitney. It sounds like fun. You know, Ashley asks if she can tag along, and that says, yes, you're more than welcome. So they're going to be off on this retreat soon, and I'm sure we'll see it later. And that's fine. I mean, who doesn't love to travel? Well, I guess some people do, but I like that. That's always fun to watch, okay? The other big storyline we have going on here, okay, is Whitney's flirtation with the Frenchman. Now, okay, here's the thing. This show, and particularly this episode, just reinforced to me how I really think that Whitney's relationship with Chase was really more about TV. It was a reality show relationship, and I'll get into my reasons a little bit more later. But if, for the sake of this recap, we're going to pretend that that relationship was 100% real and authentic. And I'm not saying there wasn't some authenticity there a little bit, but by and large, I don't think so. But we're gonna pretend that it was. So if we're to believe that, Whitney's coming off of a broken engagement with a man who cheated on her, had a baby on her, humiliated her on national TV, and, you know, unceremoniously dumped her. Okay, that can leave someone in a really, you know, broken place. especially when it comes to like, how you feel about yourself and what did I do wrong. I mean, she didn't do anything wrong. I mean, she plays a part in the breakup, of not communicating, but nobody deserves to be cheated on and treated that way. And anyway, she meets this French guy on Frenchman on the translator language app. And there's a flirtation, there's a vibe, and I think that's all harmless. That's just kind of getting your groove back, seeing that there's other people out there and that, yeah, you're still attractive and you still got it. Totally cool. But is she really taking this relationship seriously in terms of like pursuing this man as possibly being like a boyfriend, a husband? Because he lives in France. And, in the last season, she wouldn't even consider moving to Wilmington, okay, which is just like 8 hours from where she lives. Is she really ready to leave her parents and her business and her whole life and move to another continent? Maybe, I don't know. Does she assume that maybe if it is love, he'll drop his life and move to the States? As it is, he does not want to be seen. His name isn't shown. So I don't think he wants to come and participate in this show. I mean, at least not right now. So what's really going on here? Are we getting another produced storyline? I don't know. Ashley, her friend, is encouraging her too, telling her like, yeah, like you should go for it. Like he's hot, he's funny, he's lingual, like he can speak lots of languages. Is that a word? Multilingual? I don't know. You know what I mean. It's early. And she tells Whitney like, the only obstacle is just that he lives in France. Well, that's a huge, huge obstacle. And so why not just, engage in the flirtation and have fun, but like, let's not take it that seriously. You know what I mean? So she invites her mom to come over to participate in one of their tutoring sessions because, her parents don't know anything about the internet, apps, dating apps, like who is this guy? So she wants to show her mom, like, he's real, this is what it is, meet him. She doesn't tell Frenchman that mom is gonna be sitting right next to her when he FaceTimes, so he's a little surprised. And the French lesson was interesting because I thought they were gonna be learning like words, verbs, nouns, conjugations. No. Instead, he's just asking Whitney, okay, what would you say if I knocked on your door and you answered? And Whitney, because she's got a crush on this guy, thinks he might be crushing on her back, but doesn't have real certainty because he hasn't made it like blatantly clear, where his feelings might lie, is trying to this roundabout way find out and gauge how he really feels. So he'll say, what would you say if I knocked on your door? Well, are you knocking on my door as a tutor, as a stranger, as a friend, as a boyfriend? And he isn't really playing along too much. I mean, maybe because her mom is sitting there and he's trying to remain like a professional, instructor here. So he says, I'm your tutor. So she responds back. I mean, she isn't fluent in any way. She knows more French than I do, and the mom can see what's going on because it plays out for a few questions like, oh, what would you say if I did this or this? And she keeps asking like, well, like, who are you to me? And so finally the mom, wanting to give her daughter a little privacy and like just get to the bottom of it, excuses herself to go to the restroom. And so when she leaves, Whitney kind of leans in like, okay, my mom's gone. Let me just kind of like be frank. Like, what is your type? What type of women are you into? And he says he doesn't have like a specific type. He likes all women. And so then, she really kind of gets more specific with, okay, well, do you like big women, like bigger women like myself? And he says he's never been with a woman Whitney's size. He doesn't necessarily pursue bigger women per se, but he's not closed-minded to dating somebody who's larger. Like he said, he loves all women, everybody can get it. So those answers are good to Whitney because she doesn't want somebody who wants her solely for her size, that's going to fetishize her. And she doesn't want somebody who's like, just totally, shut the door, no way, not attracted to bigger women. Because, yeah, you want somebody who is into you. So all this sounds good to her. So for her, this is a green light. Yeah, they probably like each other, because when the mom isn't there and they get on FaceTime, they're really not studying French. They're just hanging out, getting to know each other and being flirty. By the way, the mom comes back and the mom says in the confessional that he is very handsome, a total heartthrob, looking like a heartbreaker, and she's hoping Whitney's careful with her heart and her feelings because, she might get hurt because he's a stud. And like by everybody's admission, all the people that have seen him on FaceTime all agree that he is just like the hottest, suavest, charmingest man, Whitney's encountered. So like I said, I mean, that whole little thing, it's cute. It's, you know, it's cute for what it is. I mean, I actually have a story that I think I'll save for later. We'll get more into this season and see how this unfolds. I once, years ago, met a man who lived in Germany, and we engaged in an online FaceTime flirtation, and we can get into that more. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for these episodes if you're interested in my story time of my German man, because I won't say his name either. Okay, now let's get to the main issue here. Okay, where Whitney is very, to me, just like a little unreasonable, maybe. So her relationship with Buddy. Okay. Again, when she's talking with Ashley, Ashley brings up the barbecue and how it got a little awkward when Buddy showed up. And, you know, Whitney says that she probably got a little bit more salty and petty than she intended to, but really it was misdirected annoyance because he was so late and he was supposed to bring the meat and he kept them all waiting. But really, the heart of the matter is that she is hurt that she seems to have been forgotten, you know, left behind. He's in this new relationship. He doesn't come around. She misses her friend. You know, she doesn't want all of Buddy. She just wants a piece of him. And okay, so she decides to set up a meeting with Buddy so they can talk and really figure out what's going on with the living situation, because she definitely does not like him just sort of keeping his shit there, getting his mail, and just never being around. I mean, I don't know what the problem is, because he is paying the rent, or not all of it, but he's paying his portion of the rent, and so what's the issue? But it is an issue for Whitney. So they meet up at the park so she can walk her dog. And at first they're just trying to catch up because they haven't seen each other for a while, really. So she's trying to tell him about the Frenchman. Oh, I met this Frenchman, and he's confused. Who? What Frenchman? Because he, when Ashley spilled the beans at the barbecue, Buddy wasn't there yet, so he missed that whole conversation. So she sort of underhandedly tries to take a dig at Buddy by saying like, oh yeah, like I haven't even seen you. You haven't been around. You don't even know what's going on. And he catches it and he calls her on it and says like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you saying that? Like, why are you trying to like, you know, take a dig at me? Like, what's the deal? Like, tell me how you really feel. What's this really about? Like, what's really going on? So they sit down on the bench and she tells him, you know, that she's just really disappointed because when they left Charlotte to move back to Greensboro, they had this sort of understanding and deal that they would move back, be roommates, and just live in domestic bliss with each other. But apparently 11 days into being home, he kind of bounced out and has been with Courtney ever since. I don't know if that's like exactly when he met Courtney or if that's just sort of when their relationship heated up, but you know, he's MIA, and that's not what they agreed on. And in her confessional, she says, you know, it just hurts her that, you know, Buddy's just so wrapped up in his feelings of this new relationship. Like, you know, he hasn't even like taken into account her feelings. And all she wants is just some acknowledgement and an apology. And that's where I rolled my eyes. Like, an apology, girl, for what? Like, what has he done? And yes, even in his confessional, he reiterates what I'm saying. What is she really upset about? I'm her roommate, not her boyfriend. I pay my rent on time. Like, I'm even respectful enough because I realize I'm not there a lot to give her a heads up when I'm gonna be around. Like, what's the problem with me just living my life? Well, the problem is, Buddy, is your life is supposed to revolve around her, and it doesn't anymore. And that's what she's upset about, you know? And he tells her, well, you know, I'm sorry things worked out that way. I didn't intend to just sort of leave at day 11, but you know, Courtney, like, I'm in love. She's beautiful. She is sexy. She's funny, you know, and she wants me. Yeah, Buddy, you found a woman who is sexy, beautiful, and all those things, and she wants you. You better hold on to her. Sounds like a keeper, you know? And also in his confessional, he says that he realizes that he's kind of not been around, you know, Whitney and the gang, and he misses them. And, you know, it's not that he doesn't want to spend time with them, but not at the sake of like not having time with Courtney. Like, we have to remember, okay, he is in like the beginning stages of love when you're all consumed and you just want to spend all your time with that person. And I get it. I've had friends over the years, like since high school, you know, who when they get in a new relationship, they kind of forget about your friends and you're like, damn, that sucks. But they always come back around, you know. As I got older and an adult, I realized you just got to give some people some space. And, you know, when more of my friends were single with me back in the day, like all I ever wanted was for all of us to find like good people to be with, you know. And when I saw that happening for them, if they kind of fell off the grid, I was fine about that, And let me tell you, if I meet my Mr. Right tomorrow and I disappear for 2 weeks, I better not want to hear one thing about it. Don't worry about me. We are off on an island, drunk in love, waking up in the kitchen wondering, how did this shit happen? Because we be all night. Okay, so I don't want to hear it. Be supportive. Give me some time. And okay, I think I'm getting a little preachy here. Okay, so because Buddy is sharing all this with Whitney, how serious the relationship is, she looks at him and says, like, wow, like, are we talking marriage? Are you ring shopping? And he says, well, we're not ring shopping. We're not quite there yet, but we've had discussions. Yes, like, she, I think, is the one. So this kind of takes Whitney aback. And now she says, well, I mean, if it's that serious, then why are you living with me? Like, you need, like, get your shit and get out. Like, go be with her. Like, go live that life. And on the one hand, I get what she's trying to do. She's trying to be encouraging and say, hey, go be with your woman, go spend your time with her, solidify that foundation. But on the other hand, she's basically telling him, just like, get the fuck out. If you can't live here in my house the way I want you to and be the way I need you to, then you just need to leave. That's how it felt to me. And it just seemed selfish. Like, yes, he's in love, but maybe he's not ready to move in with her just yet. Maybe maybe Courtney doesn't want him to move in. Maybe she's old fashioned and wants to be married. Like, I don't know. I'm just surmising certain things, but just that quick, like, no discussion. And I think because Buddy cares about Whitney in that friendship and is really in love with Courtney, wants to keep the peace. So he says, fine. I'll move out, not a problem. Because what's there to argue, okay? He's in love, and I think probably in the end, it is best that he moves out. And, Whitney's telling him, it's better. There won't be any awkwardness or uncomfortableness or hurt feelings. And yes, I agree. We need to draw some lines and boundaries, because now that this is kind of settled and worked out, she looks to Buddy and says, like, okay, so can I get a snuggle? And he shakes his head and tells her, no, we can't do that anymore. And she's, oh, can I at least get a hug? And he says, of course I can give you a hug. And she replies, well, what's the difference? And he says, well, the difference is a snuggle is a snuggle. I know what the difference is. She wants to cuddle up and canoodle with him, and he can't do that anymore. He's got Courtney, and it would be inappropriate and disrespectful to his girlfriend. And this is when I realized, like, yeah, that relationship with Chase really wasn't on the up and up, because when they were fully together, and Buddy would come and spend the night if he was in Charlotte for the weekend, he'd walk around in his underwear. Him and Whitney would, like, lay in bed together, and she'd throw her leg over his, and Chase would just be scratching his head like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable, like, should I talk to Buddy? Yeah, because if that was real, I think Buddy would have been respectful enough not to do that. I think it was like kind of like, for the cameras. And if he didn't get it and he was still acting that way, and Chase was really the love of her life, she would have put him in his place and said, hey, we can't do that anymore. My boyfriend doesn't appreciate it. It's not cool. Like, and you wouldn't want to be cuddling with somebody other than, like, your significant other. Do you know what I mean? That's why, now Buddy is in a for real relationship with Courtney, and he is not, even for this show, gonna play around with it and make up storylines about how he and Whitney are just so close. Like, no, that shit's done. This is for real. And he gets up to give her a hug. She stays seated and tells him, oh, that is just the worst hug ever. And he's trying to meet her halfway, to still be a friend to her, but still be respectful of, his girlfriend. So he sits down, and of course, Whitney gets her way, cuddles up to him, snuggles with him. It's just like, oh, like, this is what I miss. And I'm just, if Courtney sees this, I'm sure, she won't be bothered. She knows it's TV. She might even know how Whitney is if Buddy has filled her in, on the particulars of what really goes down in their friendship and this show. So I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, Whitney, you need to start letting go, because Buddy has always been her sort of fallback guy, who's always going to be there, whether she's in a relationship or not, or just broken up. He's the guy that lifts her up, the one she can count on to come over, save the day, be the roomie, be the homie, be, the cuddle buddy. But those days are done. Courtney's here and has filled that spot, and Whitney, I think, maybe she just needs some time to readjust to it and realize, like, what's really going on. This man has found someone who may be the love of his life. And when you meet that person, you have to hold on to them. You can't say, I'm sorry, Courtney. Can you wait right here? Can I put you on hold? It's only been 11 days since I moved in and I need to live in domestic bliss with Whitney for a little while longer. No, you have to seize the day and hold on to your love, especially in days like these. And I'm not trying to get again too like preachy or like over sentimental, but it's just let him be happy and let him be in love. Let him have his honeymoon phase. But he always does come back around, and she even says, you know, maybe you could bring Courtney around. We can sort of integrate her and really get to know her. And he should. I mean, if these are his friends and these are his people, bring Courtney around. Let's, you know, because I do like the show. I do like Whitney's parents. I think they're adorable. Her friends, I think, are fun to watch. I love Todd, and is his name Tal? Like, yeah, it's Whitney sometimes that can be frustrating. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because like I said in the beginning, I don't want to make it seem like I'm picking on her. I just don't like her, because there are things I do respect about her, but there are certain things where I just wish I could like have a conversation, be like, girl, like, let it go. Get over it. He's your friend. Wish him well. Anyway, I'm rambling. What do you guys think? Let me know if you know what I'm trying to explain about, you know, not wanting to like just, I don't want to get on here and just be like Whitney bashing, and I'm not. I'm trying to be very fair on all fronts. Do you like the storylines we have so far? Are we liking this Frenchman storyline? Let me know. Rate, comment, subscribe. I just got to 100 subscribers, which is woo, yes, very exciting. So I gotta get to work. What are we 22? Okay, you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time for something. Bye.